Welcome to the roster development step of the Healthy Schools Toolkit project. Congratulations, you have been asked to participate in the first step of a social network analysis, which is to determine who exactly should be included in the network. Specifically, who has trustworthy information and who is in communication with a lot of other people. This video will show you how to use the roster development web application to provide your input. Before we begin, it might be helpful to see what the ultimate outcome of this work will be. This can take a couple different forms. The first is network map. We made up some names here, but otherwise, it looks like a typical network map. The circles represent people, and the lines between them represent a relationship. For instance, the arrow between Ann Allen and George Phillips means that Ann said she talked to George. I want to draw your attention to a few key features. First, every circle represents an individual person. Second, the circles are a variety of colors. These represent the different roles that people in the network can have. We can include students, parents, staff, teachers, and so on. Third, we're interested in the links between them. We're very interested in the people who have a lot of arrows pointing to them, since they're the ones that everyone else are pointing out as talking to a lot of folks and having dependable information. Your job with the roster development is to come up with a list of the names of the people who should be on this map for your school or district. It's okay if you feel like you don't know everyone who should be on the map. Other folks are participating in this as well, and we hope to have a complete list by asking a variety of people who will know different areas of the map. All we can ask is that you do your best. Once we have a complete list, everyone who we think should be on the map will be asked to take a survey. They'll be asked about their connections with everyone else on the map, and that's how we'll get the information on how to draw the arrows between them. Another form the analysis can take is the roster analysis. This is just a list of all the people who are nominated by folks like you, completing the roster development with the number of times someone wrote their name down. It's not as fancy as the map. They won't be asked to participate in a survey, and we won't know about the connections between them. All we'll know is how often their name came up in this roster development exercise. For instance, Tom Johnson was mentioned by 8 of the people completing this form. If the email that invited you to complete this form specifically asked you to complete it on your own and not as a part of a group or committee, the reason is because this roster analysis will be conducted. It requires getting an accurate count of how many times people are nominated. If a group of people complete this together on a single form, and 5 of the people in that room nominate Tom Johnson, Tom will only be counted once because his name will be recorded on a single form. However, if your instructions said it's okay to complete with a group or committee, then we're just gathering a list of names for the survey, and these counts won't matter. Okay, with all that in mind, let's play with the app. Let's go ahead and click on the data entry text to get started. You'll notice that I'm using a desktop machine here. I recommend that you use a desktop or a laptop to fill this out with. You might be able to get away with a tablet like an iPad or something. I really don't recommend using a phone for this. I don't think the form will work well, and you'll also need to download your work when you're done and send it as an email attachment, which can get kind of tricky with a phone. The first thing I want to point out here is that this web page will close out if you don't enter any information for 15 minutes. So if you put a bunch of stuff in here, leave your desk for lunch or something, and then come back too late, you'll lose your work. I know it's not ideal, but it's a limitation we have due to data security issues. It might be helpful for you to think about this for a while and maybe write the names down on a piece of paper, especially if you want to provide their contact information, which can take some time to locate. But once you're ready, go ahead and plug in your contact information first. You won't be able to download the form until this is all complete. You get your first and last name in their separate boxes. Scroll down to get all the roles to populate. All right. And then you can plug in your people. You get first and last name in their separate boxes. If you don't have their contact information, that's okay. Just go ahead and leave it blank. What we don't want is for folks to add in placeholder stuff because we'll just have to delete it. So just leave those blank if you don't have it. And if someone has multiple roles, so say someone is both a parent and a teacher, try to think of the role that most people in the network would know them as. So probably teacher in this respect. And then add your next person. One issue we have sometimes is folks wonder what they should do if sometimes we have two people in a network who sort of behave as if they're one person. They work really closely together. What we prefer is that you do enter them as two separate people on two separate rows. Because you remember our network map, each circle represented one person. So we do need to have that information that these are separate people. So please do keep those separate. Another thing that we sometimes get is a big group nomination. That doesn't help us either. Again, we want a map of circles, and all those circles are individual people, and that's not an individual person. So that doesn't help us. So please, again, keep it to individual people. What this does represent is that's if you have really long names, the columns will respond, and you can fit in a big long name. So that's not a problem. If you realize you've given something up and you want to get rid of a row, you can, if you're on a PC, you can right-click and get this menu. If you're on a Mac, you just control-click, and you can remove that row. All done. We originally give you 12 rows. If you need more, again, either right-click or control-click, and you can insert rows as well. So that's fine. So if you have a bunch of people that you know, you have more than 12, go ahead and plug in as many as you want. If we ask for about 10, if you can only think of a few people, that's fine. Just give us who you know, don't worry about it. Once you're all set, you can go ahead and sort by last name. That will help you figure out, make sure that you've only got each person listed once. And once you're happy with that, go ahead and download your nominations. If you have Excel on your machine, you're welcome to go ahead and look at the file. What we do ask is that you do not change this file name. That's automatically named for things to work on our end, so please leave that alone. And so even if you enable editing, you still won't be able to edit the file. We lock that all up again so that things work for us on our end. But you can still see what you plugged in. And so that'll all work for us. These are the two people, and your information will actually be repeated for as many people as you nominated. So that you'll see a bunch of repeats, that's fine. All right. So be sure to send that file as an email attachment to the person who you're told to send it to. Thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge. One thing to remember is that you may be contacted again to participate in the survey that generates the map. So please do keep an eye out for that invitation, and we appreciate your participation in that exercise as well. Thank you so much.